competition of the less costly source. So, nag-iiba kasi yung mga presyo niyan over time. Kaya nga kung mura ba yung minimabot, bigyan natin ng importansya o ng atensyon yung research and development para kung kasi sa ibang bansa may mura na daw yung minimabot, pero sa ngayon sa atin, mahal pa. So, kung yung minimabot, mura, hindi natin siya yung
Gano'ng kakabay niyo mura din?
So, yung market kasi yan, mahirap yan mag-predict. Sa akin, exchange rate. Oo, maraming factor yan. So, yung pagtukas ng technology, yung pag-dictate ng price. So, pero sa ngayon, ako yung mura.
Follow up po siya sa kanya kasi iba. Ma'am, your name
My
is?
name is Kathy Cruz from the WA Broadcaster. Ma'am Lea, meron po bang epira po ba na batas na sa atin ay may epekto sa ibang mataas na halaga na kuryente natin?
Okay, yung EPIRA, ang objective niyan, competition, di ba? Pero 2001 ito na enact, pero hindi pa kumpleto yung implementation. Wala pa yung vision ng EPIRA, magkaroon tayo ng competitive retail sector market. Yung wherein sa at the household level, we can choose where to buy electricity. Ngayon kasi tayo, ang tawag sa atin, captive customer. Kung sino yung distribution utility natin, ngayon nasa franchise area tayo ng Meralco, doon lang tayo pwedeng bumili. Pero we're now starting, the Philippines is starting to implement the retail sector for the contestable customer na tinatawag that are using 1 megawatt a month. So sila, meron na silang choice kung saan pwedeng bumili ng kuryente. So, pero ito, parang kung ikaw yung customer, pipili ka kung sino yung pinakamababa magsusupply sa'yo. So makakatulong yun. So, pero sinisimulan pa lang itong i-implement. Pero hindi ko sinasabing perfecto dahil nung nakakausap namin yung mga contestable customer, ang sabi nila parang taxi driver daw itong mga supplier. Tinatawag na retail electricity supplier or RES, namimili daw sila kung sino yung susuplayan. Kung hindi 24-hour yung requirements mo, hindi ka nila susuplayan. So, ang magiging resulta nun, pupunta sila sa supplier of the last resort na tinatawag, na mas mataas yung presyo, pero hindi na sila pwedeng bumalik sa kanilang distribution utility kasi contestable customer na sila. So, kumbaga, yung EPIRA, maganda yung intensyon, kasi pag may competition, bababa yung presyo. Yung choice naman, pero hindi pa kasi kumpleto. Pero yung choice kasi na bumalik tayo sa pre-EPIRA, kumbaga yung vertically integrated na ibabalik mo lahat ang pangasiwa ng ating industriya sa government, iisipin mo, we have to buy back all the private generation power that the private sector had buy. So, paano tayo bibili? Paano mabibili yun ng gobyerno? And then, di ba, pumasok tayo sa EPIRA dahil nagkautang-utang yung gobyerno, the government owned all the assets. So, medyo delikado pa rin na bumalik tayo sa pre-EPIRA dahil hindi pa naman kompleto yung implementasyon ng EPIRA.
Okay, last follow-up on this topic.
One last. Ma'am,
Sige ma'am, kay ma'am na lang tsaka kay sir, and then we'll move on to another topic. Sige.
oo. Balik ako dun sa EPIRA. Is it true na ang government, because of the law of the EPIRA, hindi siya ngayon pwedeng pumasok na maging humawak mismo o mag-establish ng producing electricity?
Yes.
Second question ko, ito bang tinatawag nating EPIRA law, kasi kanina nabanggit ko ninyo na dahil doon sa mga tinatawag nating malaki ang hindi pwedeng bayaran o bilhin uli ng gobyerno. Diba, yung mga companies na siyang nagbibigay po ng kuryente. Ang tanong ko na po dito all these companies na talagang sabi nila investor pero still guaranteed by the government, para bang ang feeling ko parang niluluto ka sa sarili mong mantika. Gobyerno ka, parang gapusang kamay mo para tulungan mong taong bayan para mapababa mo yung kuryente.
Okay. Sa EPIRA, dati kasi before EPIRA, vertically integrated na tinatawag yung sektor ng electricity. So, ibig sabihin nun, yung generation, transmission and distribution, at saka yung Yun ang bali, no? Pag-aari to o pinapangasiwaan ng government. So, sa pamamagitan to ng NAPOCOR, noong before EPIRA. Now, come EPIRA, in 2001, nagkaroon ng restructuring or in-unbundle yung mga function ng electricity industry. So, yung generation side, ginawa na tong private and competitive. Yun na po siya. So, ibig sabihin nun, hindi na pwedeng pumasok ang gobyerno in buying those generation assets kasi nagkaroon nga ng pisang to sell those assets to the private investor. Hindi pa rin kompleto yan. Sa Luzon at sa Visayas, medyo kompleto na. Pero yung Mindanao, Taagos, and Pulangi is still owned by the government. Now, yung isa pang sector na dinagdag after IPIRA, ito nga yung retail competitive sector, yung kaninang in-explain ko. Ngayon, yung government may role pa rin kasi ang distribution and transmission is a natural monopoly. So, sa electricity industry, ito yung tinatawag na regulated monopoly. Nire-regulate ng government sa pamamagitan ng Energy Regulatory Commission, yung ERC. So, ganun pa man, kahit na privatized, competitive yung ating generation sector, dahil sila yung nagbebenta sa distribution, tinitingnan to ng ERC, lahat ng kontrata. Pero syempre, hindi ko po sinasabing na perfecto ang implementasyon dahil marami pa nga pong problema kaya natin inaaral. Pero kumbaga, kung titingnan natin sa ibang bansa, ito na yung way, nag-restructure na ang mga maraming bansa sa labas ng Asia. Kasi sa Asia, Singapore lang yung kapareho natin. So, kumbaga, ito na yung way to restructure the industry para kasi kung may competition, ang in theory, magpapababa talaga ito ng presyo. So, kailangan lang makumpleto yung implementasyon. So, pero sa ngayon, hindi pa nga kumpleto yung implementasyon ng EPIRA.
Okay, last follow-up on this question.
Sorry lang po, verificatory.
Sige, konti lang, mabilis na ako.
Yan yung ARCOA.
Yung ARCOA, yung retail sector. Yung
Okay.
naka-apat.
Okay. Last question on this topic, and then si Ma'am kanina pa nag-iintay. And then after that, I will consider questions sa ibang ano naman, sa ibang awardees naman natin para may bigyan din natin sa chat. Sige sir, mabilis na.
So sa kagabi sa news, diba, lumabas yung sa pag isa sa mga layunin ng DOE, yung mabawasan yung mga ordinaryong bahay na nakakabit pa rin sa jumper. Okay, sa isang mga plans sila. Then, syempre alam naman natin na hindi pa ganun ka-affordable din pagpapakabit ng kuryente. How do you help those people na, lalo na dito sa Metro Manila, gana pa rin yung jumper. And at the same time, yung ano na yung nangyari dun sa plano ng DOST, dun sa na matulungan yung device na ginamit. Di ba, bumisita si President ng Baclan paano natin matutulungan yung mga inventor? Yung inventor, particularly si Ma'am, yung sa ilaw na yun. Paano natin siya matutulungan para mas reproduce yun at makatulong din sa mga tao?
Answer na.
Actually, field na yan, no? Yung tinitingnan namin more on the policy side. Pero in my opinion, syempre kung titingnan mo yun, you have to improve the lives of those people. Kaya tayo naman nagja-jumper kasi wala tayong pambayad, di ba? So it's really yung yung improving those lives. So it's na
Okay. Sige ma'am, ikaw na po. Kaya na niyo. Sige. Nasyan ko na. And then after that,
Meron nang hihirit ng parang okay na.
kanino po? Kanino po?
Ikaw na.
Okay, last na po yun, no? For that topic, ha? And then si ma'am na, last na po. Okay. I know it's a hot topic, pero kailangan ko natin.
Sa hot topic.
Sige, sige. Sige po.
What are those renewable energy you are considering?
yung sinasabi ko po na yan ng research on, ng investment on research and development, di ba? Yung wind, solar, yung mga runoff river hydro. So right now kasi lang mga ito kasama sa FITs na tinatawag, merong subsidy. Parang guarantee na pag nag-produce sila, merong additional. So parang for it to be profitable. So
Only wind and solar.
solar, wind,
Biomass.
oo, kasabi ko, biomass, and then yung runoff river. Meron pang isa, runoff river hydro. Iba to sa regular hydro. Runoff river hydro ang tawag.
Okay.
Paano
Sige.
yung thermal?
Siguro mamaya na lang po. Ma'am, yung details po niyan, pwede po mamaya na lang po para we can move on. Si ma'am na po, final.
Yes, I have a question for Dr. Jose Esagani Hanairo.
Sige po.
Yeah. Oh, very few chemists in Tamil asking to receive our questions. So, I am interested about your biomineralization project or projects, and I'm quite wondering how a natural process could actually form functional inorganic materials, no, and specifically nanomaterials. Maybe you could share with us the scientific and also the social context of the study of biomineralization, because this seems to be quite new in the Philippines. Ano po bang uses pati nito?
Okay,
Thank you po.
go ahead.
Salamat. Yung project po namin, it's actually, we studied how nature forms inorganic structures.
Yes.
So for example, yung ngipin natin, buto, perlas, lahat po yan ay produkto ng biomineralization. So ito pong mga bagay nito, yung gaya ng perlas, maganda po yung properties niya. So kaya naisip po namin, ba't di natin aralin kung paano ginagawa ito ng kalikasan at i-apply natin para makagawa tayo ng nanostructures sa laboratory. So in-apply po namin, kami po ay nagdisenyo ng mga proteins at peptides para siya ang co-control doon sa pag-grow ng nanostructures. So yung ginamit po naming metal ay palladium. Opo. Ang palladium, ang kanyang application ay in catalysis. So pag sinabi po natin catalysis, ito po yung, or catalyst, ito yung mga bagay na nagpapabilis sa reaction. No? So itong mga bagay na ito, ginagamit para kunyari gumawa ng gamot, no? Gumawa ng plastic. So dun po sa project namin, dapat ko pong linawin, ito ay basic pa lamang. Hindi pa po namin siya naya-apply sa industrial scale. So mga paunang pag-aaral pa lang po na matagumpay naman na-apply namin yung strategy ng kalikasan para makagawa kami ng mga ganong nanostructure. So say within the social context, so kung
Saan magagamit?
yun po, so maaari nga magamit siya, for example, sa catalyst din. Catalysis din yung application. So maaari sa sa chemical reactions. Yung aming applications, ginamit po namin ito para ma-detoxify yung isang compound. So yung mga nitrophenol po, so yung nitrophenol, ito ay common byproduct sa textile industry which are proven to be toxic. So using our produced nanomaterials, we were able to convert them into something less toxic. So yun po yung mga pauna naming resulta.
Okay.
But follow-up, yes. But in terms of actual products, ano po sa tingin ninyo ang pwedeng targetin ng itong mga produktong to? Saan po ito pwedeng magamit?
Okay. So since palladium po yung aming material, no? So napakarami pong reaction na kinakatalyze na ito. So ang isang sikat na reaction is yung Suzuki cross-coupling. So ito pong reaction na ito usually ginagamit sa pagbubuo ng gamot. So kung mapapalawak pa po namin yung aming pag-aaral, so yung in the end, yung aming grand objective is maybe to use this catalyst for the pharmaceutical industry.
Pharmaceutical industry.
Opo. And also for the synthesis of natural products.
Palladium is metallic
Opo.
and quite rare.
Opo. Ano siya, noble metal siya. Ang palladium po kasi is for catalysis talaga, for catalysis. Opo.
Ma'am, follow up po dun sa
Maaari po. Actually, yung mga sasakyan po natin, yung sa tambucho, no, yung catalytic converter kung tawagin, na nagko-convert ng mga nitrous oxide emissions ng ating sasakyan, ang bakal po doon ay palladium. So maaari din pong ma-apply yung aming produkto doon po. If ever na, yun nga, i-industrial scale yung synthesis ng material nito.
Okay. Move to another topic. Okay, ma'am.
Sir, tanong ko lang po sir, since you are in soil science, kailan po natin yung masasabi na, sir, paano natin matutulungan yung pagsasama natin, yung dagdag agriculture po? Yung ba yung lupa na kahit ano pong gawin ng magsasaka ay hindi po tutubo yung kanyang tinanim? And then, meron pa po bang ibang uri ng lupa since you are in a soil science expert po? Pwede po bang malaman para po makatulong tayo sa magsasaka kasi we're handling po some farmers. Thank you po.
Thank you very much for that question. It's true that there are a lot of soil types. Maraming ibang uri ng lupa. Kung may mga lupa na medyo clear siya, tulad siya, actually, yung pagkakaling ka doon, aanihin mo.
Sir, pakilakasan na.
Maliit yung aanihin mo pagka yung lupa mo is pula. Meaning, ang lupa is acidic, kulang na siya ng nutrients. So kung nagpatubo ka doon, nagka-aanin na marami. So eventually, yung gagawin mo, yung mga farmers natin is to apply either fertilizer, organic fertilizer, or yung fertilizer na bibili sa yung inorganic fertilizer. So,
Kailangan organic fertilizer.
mas maganda kung organic siya kasi may maganda, may tutulong doon sa property ng lupa. Kasi kung magpatuloy tayo sa paggamit na yung inorganic fertilizer, mahal na kasi ngayon yung inorganic fertilizer. So, alternatively, pwede na gamitin yung mga manure, yung mga baka. So, we can also apply it to para magpatuloy.
Sir, nakaka-affect na yung climate change sa lupang pinagtataniman ng mga magsasaka kapag ng climate change?
Meron siyang malaking effect. For example, kung maraming ulan, submerge yung panalang earth. So, pagka submerge yung lupa, kung magpatubo ka ng mga vegetable, malamang hindi na yun aalin na. Kasi nga, ma-apektuhan siya. On the other hand naman, kung mainit yung panahon, meron tayong El Nino, wala tayong tubig. So, magkakaroon na yung crops mo, hindi rin tubig. So, definitely, there is a very big impact on agriculture.
Sir, anong tulong na gagawa ng isang soil science expert po? Pag sa mga ganong sitwasyon po? You as a soil science expert.
Sa anong sitwasyon?
Yung mga binanggit mo na...
Expertise mo daw.
Yung mga tayo na binanggit ko nila.
Yung
Your expertise.
Yung expertise. May, dito sa amin, sa Leyte, taga Leyte po. So, normally pagka free time ako, I always go around. I'm also a farmer. So, I have a lot of farmers na may tinutulungan rin ako to establish vermicomposting facilities. Maliit lang siya na pwedeng mapagkunan ng fertilizer. Yung sa vermicast. So, initially, yung ginawa ko is I have my own rice field. So, hindi na ako nag-apply. Isang beses na ako nag-apply ng organic fertilizer. The rest, I use vermicast. Tapos doon ako tiba-tiba doon. Kasi nga, I attributed it to the effect of using vermicast. So, maganda yung ani na.
Okay. Follow up, sir?
Yes,
Name and
sir.
affiliation.
Follow up kay Mabaray.
Pangalan po and affiliation.
I'm Rafael Nico, publisher ng TradeData.com. Sir, follow up ko lang. Meron pa po ba tayong magagawa doon sa lupa na tinamaan ng lahar? Kasi may mga nakatuwang mga po tayong lupa. May magagawa kasi ba tayo po?
Yung lahar areas, meron na naman siguro. Kung sa Japan kasi ginagawa, yung mga lahar areas, they converted it. Tinatin naman nila ng ibang crops. For example, sugar beets. It grows very well in areas na may. So, you can potentially utilize it for another crop. Huwag na lang yung ibang crop na hindi suitable sa iyo. So, dito nagiging issue yung suitability on how you are going to use a particular area. Pwede pa rin.
But you can also treat lahar soil, first them mahayan.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Sige po. We can move on to another topic. Yes, Ma'am Lau. Okay, Miss Ma'am Lau din.
Ano po ang pinaka-latest
Dito po sa Pilipinas, sinisimulan po natin yung genomics. Pero yung sa area po ng study ko, specialty po namin ay gamit ng mga varieties yung mga native corn varieties sa Pilipinas at i-explore yung utilization niya para patuloy natin matanim yung ganong klaseng mga varieties. Actually po, ang BT corn, isa po siyang variety na para magkaroon po ng resistance sa corn borer. So instead po nagagamit tayo ng mga insecticide para mapatay yung corn borer, yung BT gene, pinasok po natin siya sa mais para po yung host plant, yung mais, ay siya na po ang mag-develop ng resistance mechanism against dun sa BT. Na pag kumain po, pag kinain po ng BT, kumain po yung BT, yung corn borer pala po, corn borer dun sa mais, mapaparalyze po yung kanyang tiyan at mamamatay po siya. So, bababa po yung population ng corn borer. Opo. Opo. So, personally po, ang opinion ko po ay as long as yung natural population ng peste at ng natural enemies ay nag-e-exist sa population, may balance po sa ecosystem, pwede po natin gamitin yon. So, kaya nga po, yung mga pinapackage ng mga kumpanya, meron silang tinatawag na refuge in a bag, RIB, na sa isang pakete po, sa isang package po ng seeds ng BT corn, meron po silang nakasamang pakete ng non-BT. Yun po ang mechanism nila para mag-exist yung natural population ng peste at yung natural enemies against the pest dun sa ecosystem.
Ano daw po yung halaman na pwede ilagay sa bahay para magtamlang
ang alam ko po, ang citronella po ay pwede. Kaya meron po tayong mga citronella spray. Natural repellent po siya. Pwede po.
Si ma'am po dito sa harap and then si ma'am sa
Kathy Cruz from DWP. Tanong ko lang yung ang Department of Agriculture po kasi ngayon, lalo na si yung bagong putong secretary, ay talagang masikip po pag-nais niya ngayon for the food sustainability. At ang gusto niya ay hindi sa halip na mag-import tayo, particularly ng bigas, ay makapag-export tayo. Ngayon, there is also one thing na yung sinasabi natin na nakakapag-export na tayo existing, which is the corn. So, is there any study sa inyong kapasitan na pagsamahin ang rice and corn bilang isa sa paraan ng dahil ito ay mayaman sa nutrition?
Actually po, sa nakaraang administrasyon, sa pamumuno po ni Secretary Alcala, ay meron na po silang ina-advocate na mechanism para mabawasan po ang importasyon natin ng bigas. So that is through promotion po ng corn grits. So yung isa pong na-select na variety dun sa aking research nung aking master's degree ay yung Obatan pa na nung na-develop po siyang variety ay naging IPB var 6. Sa pamumuno po ng advisor ko, si Dr. Salazar, pinopromote po nila ito. Nasa US kasi po ako noong time na sinimulan po yung promotion. So, the promotion of corn grits is to blend it or combine it with rice para mabawasan po yung pagkain ng mga Pilipino ng bigas. Ang objective naman nito po ay as food staple. So, ang ideal ratio po ay 30% ng corn grits sa 70% na bigas. So, mababa po ang presyo ng corn grits. So, in terms po sa per kilo ng staple food, makakatipid po ang ating mamamayang Pilipino.
Gano'n po ang nutrition dito na naibigay sa tao, pagkain po?
Nagkaroon po kami ng feeding trial sa isa pong school sa Los Baños. Ang observation po namin, for a period of time na pinakain po namin yung mga school children ng rice corn mix na tinatawag namin, after that period, from wasted state, naging normal na po yung state nila. So kaya po, medyo aggressive po ang promotion nitong rice corn blend using the IPB VAR6 as a parang pang-blend po dun sa rice. Sa pagkakatanda ko po, mga isang buwan o 1 to 3 months po na period.
Okay, maganda. Lean Angeles po from Abante. Tanong ko po kay Dr. Lagmay, kasi ngayon po, meron pong binigay po na babala or warning ang DNR tungkol po naman sa posible pong pagguho ng lupa doon sa Leyte dahil po doon sa past na nangyari epekto ng bagyong Yolanda. Ngayon po, kayo po ay isa executive director ng Project NOAA. Napag-aralan po ba ninyo sa forensic analysis ninyo yung posibleng pagguho ng lupa doon sa Leyte?
Ang tanong ko, bakit Leyte lang ang tinatanong ninyo? Ang buong Pilipinas po, merong panganib ng landslide. In fact, simula 2003 hanggang present, no? Pinag-aralan po namin yung mga landslide events na nangyari for that period. And we were able to count more than 13,000 landslide events. More than 13.
Ilan, sir?
More than 13,000 landslide events. Some are big, most of them are small, but nonetheless, they are still landslides. Ang Butchoy po, no, bagamat tumatahak doon sa Pacific Ocean, panahon po ng habagat ngayon, bibigyan niya ng vitamins yung habagat. And base po dun sa mga forecast ng Pag-asa, ang sinasabi po yung mga lugar na especially this Saturday, simula po bukas, na uulanin ay kasama po yung Mindoro, yung Antique, Zambales, may parte po ng Benguet. At yung po na forecasted na magkakaroon ng mataas na ulan ay enough po para mag-trigger ng landslide. So binigyan po ng babala ng NDRRMC yung mga lugar na yon, merong listahan na binaba at sila po ay dapat mag-prepare or nag-suggest ng preemptive evacuation do sa mga nasa listahan. Yung preemptive evacuation po ay hindi call ng national government. It's the call of the local government whether they will do it or not. But nonetheless, the warning has been made by NDRMC as of yesterday.
Okay, isa na lang po, sir. Yung tungkol po, sir, sa Bulusan, kasi nag-uulan po ngayon. Ano na po yung update sa Bulusan ngayon?
Maganda mong tanungin natin ang PBOTS. Pero ang pagkakaalam ko,
expert na po kasi kayo, sir, sa volcano.
pero meron pong we have 300 volcanoes in the Philippines, no? And 23 are active, many more are potentially active, and a lot are inactive. Pinatubo used to be considered as dead, no? But until it was experienced unrest in 1990, it was considered dead, no? We need to study more about the volcanic processes here in the Philippines. There's a lot of volcanoes that we need to study. Some of our volcanoes are very well studied, especially those that are active. Para silang nasa ICU. And I know that yung eruption doon sa Bulusan, which was just a few days ago, no, nagkaroon ng phreatic eruption. There was no magma rising. Pag sinabing phreatic is just steam na napakuluan ng siguro may source na mainit somewhere several kilometers below that heated up the volcano and then spewed out the ash. Ang tawag doon phreatic.
Okay. Si Sir, and then si Ma'am, and then si Sir ulit.
Good morning po, nauliliwanag ng Pinas and Sakto Balita. Kay Ma'am Tonet. Ma'am, kumusta na po yung tungkol sa BT eggplant po natin? Anong masasabi niyo po ron?
Or eggplant kasi.
Eggplant po ito.
BT talong naman. Okay, sige.
Yung sa BT talong po, ako kasi po'y magmamais. Kaya hindi ko po expertise. Pero sasagutin ko po sa base po sa aking nalalaman. So, ang alam ko po, meron na po silang nilabas na bagong administrative order to address po yung issue ng sa BT talong.
Yes. And then si ma'am, dito po sa kanan. And si sir.
Saan po kayo ng NOAA dito po sa modernization ng asset natin ng pagkasa? Nasolve na po ba yung problema ng mga tao na madaling maintindihan itong nakalagay sa ating mga website? Kasi parang kulang-kulang pati instead na pumunta sa website ng NOAA, matikinig sila sa kasi i-process mo pa eh. Hindi ba naman pwede gawa ng paraan para pagtingin na hindi yan ang IRS? Salamat po.
Ang hirap naman po ng tanong ninyo. Really, hindi naman po namin din ini-expect na lahat ng mamamayan ay may access sa internet. No? In fact, ang media po ay napaka-importante na mag-translate ng information. Hindi po lahat may internet. Karamihan ay mayroong radyo at may television. Doon po talaga na-disseminate yung information. Katulad po itong tungkol sa Butchoy, meron pong TV, meron tayong access doon sa mga internet, pero ang dapat tumitingin talaga yun ay mga DRRM officers ng LGU. At sila po ay required na maintindihan yon. In fact, nagkakaroon po ng mga training programs para doon sa mga DRRM officers to be able to use it properly. No? We don't expect each and everyone to understand the website, no, and the apps. No? But we expect those who are responsible at LGU level to understand and be able to disseminate the information. And we are also expecting that media will be able to understand. Ang tanong po, we conduct training programs on how to understand the information. Kayo po ba ay nag-attend na ng training ng NOAA? Aba, ayan. Yan. Marami na po yung mga naka-attend, pati mga media groups. Ang tanong ay kayo ba ay naka-attend? But iniimbitahan ko po kayo na mag-attend ng program.
Hello. Hello. Follow up kay Ma'am Leia o kay Sir Francis. Sir,
Hindi pa lang po nasagot yata. Modernization daw.
Yung modernization ng pag-asa. Well, naimbitahan po ako dun sa mga implementing rules and regulations na na mga discussions saan po ilalagay yung mga pera na gagamitin para sa pag-asa. Kami naman po sa Project NOAA ay parang kami ay complementing group lang. We are a program, no? And in fact, in NOAA, marami po kaming mga tools, no? Lahat po, Doppler radar, satellite imagery, lahat po ng information ay kinukuha din namin sa pag-asa. We've been collaborating with them. In fact, we do that because we thought na it's very important that this information or this data need to be seen by the people and the media every minute when you need it. And that is empowering the Filipino people, no, with information. Yun po yung ICT. Yun po yung ginagamit natin para kahit hindi dumating yung advice, yung mga tao ay may access dun sa information, thereby empowering them such that when there's no advice that goes to their area, for some reason or another, they can still make sensible decisions.
Ito po yan, ngayon sa bagong organisasyon.
Itutuloy ang
Ano ang posisyon niya?
well, 2 days ago, nagkausap po kami ni Secretary de la Peña, but nagkausap kami for 5 minutes. And gusto ko pong nag-schedule po kami ng meeting on whether or not it will continue or will be institutionalized or what, no? Pero kung tatanungin niyo po kung ano yung opinion ko about whether it should continue or not, I think it should. No? Kung tatanungin niyo po kung dapat ba siyang ma-institutionalize or hindi, I think it should. Why? Because I think over the past several years, maganda naman po yung public reception and maganda naman po yung impacts, no, na in terms of how we address the disaster problem. And that's very significant. No? We'll start from raising awareness. Then we go to empowering the people. Ano ba yung response? Ano ba yung mga actual hazard events that did not turn into disasters? We call them success stories. I can name Habagat 2012, 2013, 2014. There was flooding in Cagayan de Oro 1 year after Sendong, 7 meters rise in water level of Cagayan de Oro River. There was a phenomenal flood event in Tagaloan, northeast of Cagayan de Oro. Breached the dikes, unprecedented over the past 100 years. 1 person died. Merong flooding sa Butuan during Agaton. There were debris flows during Nona and Lando, which just happened in December and October of last year, respectively. 40 million cubic meters of rocks, the same rocks that buried the people in Compostela Valley in Barangay Andac. 566 people who were buried alive when the debris flows overwhelmed the evacuation center. So, marami pong ginagawa, no? And in fact, we only learn about the lessons from disasters after they unfold. That means that there are always lessons to learn from disasters. We need a group that will continuously gather all of that data and lessons learned and information so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. Now, if I still have 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm quite passionate about this because we're talking about people's lives, no? And I think sana maintindihan na it's very, very important that we use science and technology, the new technologies, the cutting-edge science, in the forefront of battle against disasters. And we need dedicated scientists, people, to do that. And we need NOAA to do that. It may be called another name, but definitely we need people, an army of disaster scientists to address our disaster problems. After all, we are at the top of the list in terms of disaster risk in the world.
Okay. Sir, follow-up lang kay Ma'am Lea o kaya kay Sir Lagmay. Sir, bago na kasi ang administrasyon natin sa ngayon, posible po bang buhayin o kaya kailangan ng buhayin ang Bataan Nuclear Power Plant?
Sa akin ba to? Hindi. Okay.
Taga-Bataan ho ako. Okay. Yung sa akin pong palagay, no, wala naman tayong against sa pagkakaroon ng nuclear power plant, kung ito ba talaga ay isang source ng, kumbaga, ng power, di ba? Pero yung sa particular na Bataan nuclear power plant, baka doon tayo makakita ng problema dahil medyo old na yung technology. Yun kasi yun sa aking sariling pananaw, hindi ko pa ito pinapag-aralan talaga. Pero sa nakikita ko, dahil old na yung technology, tingnan natin yung nangyari sa Japan, Fukushima. So, alam naman natin na sa Japan, mas marami silang nuclear power plant doon at yung kumbaga yung level of technology nila mas advanced relative sa atin. So, baka pwede nating tingnan, posible, huwag natin isara yung, kumbaga, yung pag-aaral at yung ating isipan na pwede tayong magkaroon ng nuclear power plant, pero tingnan natin ng maayos kung kaya ba talaga natin or kung kumbaga yung mismong Bataan nuclear power plant medyo kumasagot parang medyo alam ka rin. So, kumbaga, yun lang, huwag tayong maging sarado sa diskusyon, pag-aralan natin. Huwag naman eh.
Si Ma'am naman, daw naman.
Is there a thought near
Si Ma'am muna po.
Okay. My question is referring to the 26th academician kay Dr. Macardan Pai. You actually brought big contribution in disaster mitigation. You deserve to be the 26th academician. In your own capacity or expertise, what are your plans and your projects to come na aasahan po namin aabangan namin? For the love of your country.
NOAA or non-NOAA?
Okay, marami naman po akong ginagawa, no? Before I ended up in NOAA, I worked for the Benham Rise, yung ating claim. And then I was working with a group of international volcanologists and seismic experts working on the interaction of volcanoes. Pero I ended up doing disaster work in the past 4 years, no? under DOST Project NOAA. But ang training ko talaga is hazards, no? Hazards. So I've been looking at hazards, and over the past probably 1.5 decades, mga 15 years, each time there's a disaster, I go there to help in search and rescue. So nakakatulong din po dun yung science, kasi how to conduct the search and rescue, kailangan din po ng science doon. No? So it's very important from prevention and mitigation, merong science, preparation, rescue, and reconstruction. It must be scientific, otherwise, bara-bara po tayo. No? And right now, we've looked at the hazards. We want to go to resilience. Kasi although we're interested in looking at the hazards, we're really interested in identifying the safe places for development. For the longest time, we've been looking at the disaster problem in terms of that cycle of prevention, preparation, rescue, and reconstruction. What we need to do really is to deviate from that kind of thinking, but think more about development, planning. No? Identify those places which are safe, identify those places which are good to develop, na resilient, no? And climate change adaptive. And if we plan well using science, no, we can do that through a very, very long process. Ang tawag doon risk assessment and identification of safe areas for development. No? We veer away from the cycle of disaster prevention and mitigation towards safe development and resilient planning that addresses the climate change problem, that addresses the natural hazards as well. And if we become more smart about planning and addressing the disaster problem, we probably will become more resilient and avoid massive loss of lives.
Okay, so marami po nagtatas na kamay. Lahat po tayo, dito na pumunta si Ma'am muna, si Sir, and then si Sir, magtatanong ko ng okay, si Ma'am muna.
Meron sila mga ikuha, sabi,
Biotherium daw. Sabi daw po. Biotherium.
Hindi ko pa po na papagkaraanan yan. Hindi pa ako pag-bilyar. So, thank you.
Okay, Sir, sa likod. Okay po. Si Sir dito sa...
Personally, I am before the gentlemen and ladies in Actually, the countries what they are now without hires and hardship. So, if I would like to ask you, what advice would you want to give the young persons, the young Filipinos, if they want to follow your footsteps?
Okay.
And everyone po. Simply, isa po po, Mr. Kay Admission of Kaya, are uses by accident, G, environment, or project.
Okay, so yung kay tanong mo na kay Dr. Austria, and then Sir, diretso ninyo na ng advice niyo po daw sa mga young, and then diretso na po yung question. Genius daw. Can you repeat, sir, the question for Dr. Austria?
All of the above. Yes, because these are all the factors that we studied that are significantly related to the adverse, well, it's negative or positive relationship to the IQ of the children. Nutrition is very important, of course, but there are other factors. If you put them into the analysis, which we call regression analysis, these 5 factors that I enumerated are significantly related to the IQ of the children. Now, in terms of intervention, we could probably only intervene in terms of the nutrition, the stimulation of the child, and maybe to some extent domestic violence. We cannot do too much about maternal IQ and socioeconomic, because that is beyond, those are very large problems. But it starts definitely with nutrition. We have always advised breastfeeding as the best source of nutrient for the infant, and to continue actually breastfeeding until the child is 1.5 years of age. So nutrition, and then to continue the good nutrition, which provides appropriate amount of protein and all the macro and micronutrients, which are not really very expensive. The problem is that we are used now to eating fast food and this high salt containing food, which the children like because salt is very palatable. And that's not good because it predisposes to hypertension in the children. So that's the advice I would give to a young couple who's planning to have children. Now, of course, you have to get your mate. You don't want to marry somebody whose IQ is 60 or below. Okay?
Okay, so before mag-answer po sila doon sa isang question para sa lahat. Para sa lahat. Pwede daw po tayo, working lunch daw po tayo. You can put in your food doon and bring it to your table to eat. We will continue the interactions po. So who wants to answer the question? Lahat po daw po kaya tayo sasagot. Sir, advice sa mga young people para maging successful din. Okay, advice daw po sa mga young people para maging kayo. Okay. Sige, who wants to answer first?
My advice is work with your heart, work hard, and you will achieve.
Work hard. Okay. Si Mama.
Education is the key. So, sa lahat ng kabataan, kailangan mapagtapos if you really want to succeed. Hindi kasi, kumbaga, magiging burden ka sa society if you don't have education. And then, if you want to rise above average, continue to be humble. So, yun na yung sasabi.
Sir, yun na lang ma'am. Kasi,
siguro kukuha lang ako ng one line from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, no? Learn to labor and to wait.
Learn to labor and to wait. Sir.
Yes, as I indicated, success is only 10% inspiration. The 90% is really perspiration, which is working hard. I also, in my advice to the younger generation, the residents I train, I tell them to always go the extra mile. Don't be contented with being mediocre or the regular run of the mill. You have to go the extra mile in order to be successful.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Oscar.
My message, we need to be passionate with what we're doing. We need to desire to achieve better, and we need to be committed to what we need to accomplish. So, passion, desire, and commitment.
Okay.
Sa akin po, huwag masawang matuto. Huwag matakot magtanong at huwag matakot aminin na hindi natin alam ang isang bagay.
Very good. Very nice advice. Okay. We can keep this going on if you want, pero, I mean, kung wala na akong questions, kung wala na, I call lang ito, siya. Ito, last na lang.
Last question. This will be my first and last question. Okay, dahil po sa tema, my name is Jay Mate of Vlog News, PCME sa 30. And, di ba ang tema natin next week will be looking back and looking forward. So, tanong ko lang po sa inyo mga master, bilang mga outstanding young scientists, academician and corresponding member, ano po ang yung-look back ninyo at ano naman ang yung-look forward ninyo?
Okay. Very nice, Marty question.
Sabi mo kung ko.
Para yan sa lahat.
Para sa lahat.
We always look at what was done before, and that will be the basis to move forward. You improve it and set the target, you will get the skills.
The past will give us lessons kung ano yung success natin, kung saan tayo nagkamali, so that we can learn from it and then that will guide us towards the future. Okay? Sir,
Actually, modification lang. At gusto natin makita yung pagkakamali natin, mapag-aralan yung mga pagkakamali niyo. Huwag natin ulitin para in the future, ang goal natin mas masaganang Pilipinas, mas ayos ang buhay ng mga Pilipino.
Looking back.
I am dumbfounded. I don't know what to say. At looking back, if I were to assess how I came to this point, is that yes, you learn from your lesson, and also do not assume in terms of knowledge that knowledge is not important. In other words, at a very early stage in your life, you do not select what you think is going to help you. Every knowledge is useful. And so you have to soak all of this knowledge like a sponge. And when you grow old, get older, then you're able to tease out what is important for you. That is looking back. Then, of course, looking forward, once you have found your niche, for your research, you have one hypothesis or two or three, you'll find out that you will generate more questions than answers, and that is what you look forward to. Be open to those types of events in your study.
Thank you, sir.
Looking back, we need to learn, or we need to know what has been done before. And looking forward, we need to determine how can we improve the science and technology that can be applied in the future.
Ganun din gaya nila, looking back sa mga pagkakamali. Because research basically, mas marami kang pagkakamali kaysa sa tama. And looking forward, hoping for the best results for our experiments.
Okay. Thank you. Palampakan natin naman yung ating mga awardees. Before we close the session, I call Ming to say a few things about the ASM and then...
Haba pong nakapila kayo, naunawaan kung kayo nagugutom na, pero gusto kong ipaliwanag sa inyo na yung kit niyo, may madami kayong mapupulot dito. Meron po ditong program ng Presco na gaganapin sa July 13 and 14 sa Manila Hotel. Meron din po ditong directory ng NAST awardees na may email address, kaya kung gusto nyong diretso na silang contact yun, pwede, naandito ang field specialization nila. Naandito din po mga articles, pictures nila na pwede ninyong tingnan kung sinong gusto nyong i-focus. Bahala na kayo mamili. Naandito din po ang rationale ng NAST 38 Annual Scientific Meeting, ang draft program, at saka po yung directory ng pwede ninyong interviewin. Kasama na dito yung si Dr. Dean na manggagaling pa sa Canada. He will be available for interview at si Secretary De La Peña on the 13th. At meron po ditong press releases na pwede ninyong magamit. Kung gusto nyo i-acknowledge kami, well and good. At meron din po ditong highlights kasi nagsa-celebrate po kami ng 40th anniversary ng NAS. Madami dating nagtatanong ano daw ba ang aming na-accomplish na. Inilista ko na. Sa partial list pa lang po ito. Lalabas kasama ng souvenir program namin ng aming accomplishment na andito po ito. And if you want to interview people, pwede nyo po akong interviewin tungkol sa NAS at may nakalagay po ditong ibang mga pangalan pa. So if you want to go directly to our awardees, to your interviewees, pwede po. Naandyan yung email address nila. Hindi po ako nagbigay ng cellphone, baka pagalitan nila ako. Email na lang. O, diba? Pag hindi nyo po makontak, pwede nyo i-course through sa amin. So, tapos na ba? Ako po'y nagpapasalamat sa inyong pagdating sa aming event dito. And hoping that you will be coming to our annual scientific meeting event sa Manila Hotel, July 13 and 14. And then hoping that you will also be coming, nag-advertise na ako, sa National Science and Technology Week opening sa Bicutan, July 25. You are all invited to visit the Philippine Science Heritage Center and take your lunch there. At may konti po tayong press con kasi may awardees din po doon. Yun namang National Science and Technology Week awardees, we have 4 awardees. 5 kasi may nagtay sa isang award. And then pwede nyo magbisita, open house po yung Philippine Science Heritage Center na ando po ang display and exhibits about our scientists and their accomplishment. And then sa December, ilagay nyo na sa inyong kalendaryo, sa December 16 or 17 this year will be the 40th anniversary, culminating ng 40th anniversary ng NAS. You are all invited sa Manila Hotel Pole kasi historic event yun, nasa historic hotel tayo. So yun po, madami po pong ibang mga activities ang NAS within the year. We have Inter-Academy Medical Panel, yun po i-compose ng mga academies of medical academies all over the world will be coming here in the Philippines. Meron din po yung Advanced Associations of Science and Academies na pupunta din sa Pilipinas. You will be receiving invitations from us. Thank you very much po.
Thank you, Ma'am Nick. And also, please follow NAS Philippines sa aming social media accounts, NASPPHL, sa Facebook, sa Twitter, and sa Instagram. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you.